Ladies and gentlemen, your favorite white colonizer back with you today. The traveling clad. The tall. I put myself in third person. Check out thetravelingclad.com right now and get yourself your white colonizer mug. Get your white colonizer shirt, white colonizer hat, and let's take a look at this reaction.
It's difficult because there is a huge range of beliefs, and I have Jewish friends of mine who go on the Saturday marches.
Really?
It's awful.
Wow.
And, but they're not
There's
friends.
a case for a
Unfortunately,
psychiatrist.
I mean, unfortunately, they're probably not my friends anymore.
Yeah.
But there is a minority of Jewish people who go on the marches on a Saturday. Go, no, it's amazing. We're marching for the poor people in Gaza, and you have that side of things. It sort of goes on to a question that I want to ask you, which lots of people have asked me to ask you, which is there is, the Jewish community is a real mix of political beliefs, and there is a large group of people who would call themselves far more to the left. They would be the Guardian readers. They would that side of people, and they have said to me, I love Douglas. I love what he says, but he's a bit right wing. And they say, how do I balance my political beliefs with what he's saying and his more right-wing beliefs? And they're struggling with that.
I tell you, I've got one response. And how about asking him to tell the truth? How about urging them to orient their life not by a boring political seesaw game that no one cares about except for themselves, and instead of orienting themselves by, exactly how can I position myself? No one cares. No one cares.
It's why we love Douglas.
Instead of saying, how will I balance myself to make sure I keep my Guardian reader friends on side, say, how about you just orient yourself towards the truth?
Yeah.
If something exists in front of you, when you come across a mental blockage like this, you can keep hitting your head against the wall, or you can realize that you've got to do something else. And the something else in this case is to look frankly at what is actually happening. Mm-hmm. Also, by the way, it's a serious moral defect in a person to believe that their membership of a political tribe should override anything else. If I don't care whether I'm thought of as right-wing or not, but if somebody said to me, Douglas, I don't agree with you on Ukraine, and, you're likely to tarnish your right-wing credentials, I'd say, so what? So what? What's that got to do with it? I don't care. Kick me out of your boring club. Why would I want to be a member of it anyway?
Yeah.
So let me say, first of all, first I should address the question of the lunatics you mentioned, the sort of the Jews for suicide groups.
Yes.
They're always like this. There's Naturi Carter, of course. This is a joke that may only work with this audience, but there's also, of course, there was Queers for Palestine.
It's the best.
I called recently, and again, this doesn't work with everyone, but not everyone gets the reference. I think you can. I called Queers for Palestine the gay Naturi Carter. They are exactly saying, there's some people who like to die and just struggle madly beforehand. It's just, okay. But then inside from that, I would urge your friends who say this to listen to the testimonies of people from the kibbutz who I've spoken with, who were far to the left of any of the people you're talking about, I can guarantee.
Absolutely right. Absolutely.
And, if you go around the sites, they've been cleaned up a lot now. They weren't when I was there. It was pretty fresh. And if you go round, you can literally see peace now stickers on what remains of somebody's fridge. And you can see, and you speak to the people. I spoke to a man in a hospital in Tel Aviv the other month, in October, November. Very nice man, been in the kibbutz all his life, total leftist, peace now activist, believed in peace with the Gaza, lived just by the Gaza in near Oz, and he was in the safe room on the morning of the 7th with his wife and teenage son and daughter, and they shut themselves in the safe room. As you know, the safe rooms didn't lock because nobody expected this to happen. They tried to hold the door closed, and they did for quite a long time. He did for quite a long time, and then the terrorists found the air vent, because by then they'd set light to his house, and they were trying to burn them out. And a lot of families had this, and you had to choose whether to burn to death with your family or flee and be shot. And they stayed, and the smoke was getting too much, and they opened the vent. And then the Hamas saw this, and they threw grenades in, and one of the grenades killed his wife. And then they stuck a Kalashnikov through the shutter, and they shot his 14-year-old son through each side of the chest, and he bled out in front of his father and his sister. And his father also lost both his legs. And it was heartbreaking. He described, his son said to him as he was dying, would you bury me with my surfboard? We said, would you bury me with my surfboard? And when the authorities came to ask if he wanted anything from the house that was burnt, he said, only one thing, if you can find my son's surfboard. And he buried him with it. He said to me at the end of our time together, he said, you know, Douglas, I've been a leftist all my life. I want nothing but potato fields from here to the Mediterranean. We can't live with these people. Now, there are hundreds of stories like that. Everyone's heard of the 75-year-old woman who spent her life driving Palestinian children to hospital. I mean, imagine what it's like for the people who, and I've spoken to a lot of them, were so dedicated to the idea of people in Gaza, Palestinians in Gaza, working with them in Israel, getting a better life. Just around the time of the 7th, there was meant to be another increase in the number of workers allowed each day from Gaza into Israel to work. And that was, all the international community were pushing Israel to allow more and more workers in. And I've spoken to a lot of people in the kibbutzes who were friends with these people, were friends with Palestinians, employed Palestinians, worked with Palestinians, tried to do everything they could to make this work. And they discovered that when people came into their communities, they knew exactly where to go.
Exactly.
They knew, for instance, in one of the kibbutz, they knew where the house of the head of security in the kibbutz was, and they went and they shot him and his family, and then they went door to door everywhere else. Yeah. So I'd say to your friends, you know, sleep and dream while you can, because not everyone has that luxury. The people of Near Oz didn't have that luxury. The people of Be'eri didn't have that luxury. The people of kibbutz after kibbutz and town after town. Everybody who went to the Nova party wanted peace. There were young people who wanted to dance and have a good time. And if you'd have said to them, do you dream of a day that you can dance with your Palestinian neighbors? They would have all said yes.
So true.
Absolutely. But you know, and these people could have been your friends and mine, and if this party had been going on in this country, our friends would have been there. So I'd say to your friends, I beg you, have some empathy and understanding for the people who can no longer afford to dream dreams that you dream.
He's brilliant. He's brilliant. He's an inspiration. He's a brilliant inspiration. I have one other thing I want to add here, okay? Just one other short little thing. I don't want to keep you guys on for too long, because Douglas Murray, you know, I feel like his genius needs no... I don't need to go any further than what he says, because he speaks so eloquently. Palestinians have been their own worst enemy since their so-called founding of their nationalism. Now, every single point in their history, as a people, they have found a way to fuck up their own destiny. They have found a way to fuck up their own future. Literally, the only people in the country who had any semblance of compassion for them, who had any semblance of desire for them, to work with them, the Gazans specifically, were the people in the Gaza periphery, in the Gaza envelope. And they attacked that community, and exclusively that community, in the most horrific way, quite literally converting every single person there from a Peace Now activist to a Never Now, Never Gaza. Somebody in my Discord server said it the other day, Occupation Now. Kibush Achshav. That's what, is a joke in my Discord server now. They've converted everybody from there. Almost everybody from there. From a glimmer of a desire of hope and peace to somebody who quite literally wants potato fields from here to the Mediterranean. There's not a lot of people left with hope in the Gazans in Israel. And as they've shown us time and time again, how weak-minded, how soulless this society of people is. Not just the men, the women, the children that are brainwashed. Everybody in there. We've seen with our own eyes how they parade and celebrate and hand out sweets at the bodies of dead hostages, women and babies in coffins. That's a sick, perverted, disgusting society. That's a disgusting society. And it's rotten to its very core, unfortunately. They've ruined any opportunity they could have ever had for peace. Peace with us, peace with other people. They've killed it. They've stabbed it in the heart. And it is quite literally on story for them. It is the story of these people. Every opportunity they have for peace, for a better quality of life, they somehow find a way to fuck it up. And that's quite literally the story of Palestine. I've been to these kibbutzim. I've met with these people, quite like Douglas has. Maybe not at the same level and maybe not the same quantity. But I have, and I've seen the destruction with my own eyes. It's not something you can erase. I've seen the deaths. I've seen the murders. I've seen all of it. It's ingrained in my memory. And unfortunately, they did it to themselves. And that you can't erase. They didn't have to do it. It didn't help them. And it brought them absolutely nowhere. So you reap what you sow. I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you a long time. Goodbye, Klats.
If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to support me, being PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or joining my Patreon community down below. Patreon is the best way to support my channel, and you'll get a bunch of cool perks depending on what tier you join. Another great way to support me is by buying my merchandise on thetravelingclat.com. I regularly drop new merch designs like this beautiful hat, or this amazing shirt, where you can support the channel and get something cool for yourself. I also have an amazing Discord community with people from all over the world. Thank you so much for your support.